Welcome to Ultimate DIY, where you learn to be your own handyman. Today we are going to do a little tape and bedding. Now I'm at a customer's house who has already put in 3 sheets of drywall. Before you guys start screaming that this is placed incorrectly, it should have been horizontal. Horizontal is the way that I prefer to put on drywall, and most people do. It's easier to tape, it's stronger. But this is the way it was put on the wall when the customer pulled it off, so he put it back the same way. And another thing you're going to say is there's way too many screws. I generally will place my screws in the field at about 16 inches apart, and on my edges I go about 8 inches. Okay, so this hole was apparently a pipe going through here, and it's brittle all the way around. Now I can try to cut a square out here and just cut a piece and try to stick it in there. But what I will generally do, especially if it's out here in the middle of a wall, is I will cut my square over the hole, mark it, and cut that out so this slides in perfectly. In this case, I have a 1/2 inch going behind and 1/2 inch going behind, so I had to account for that when I drew my lines. Now I'm going to slowly cut this out and try to keep it as straight as possible so that I don't have to do a lot of filling here. These Home Depot stir sticks work pretty good. Let's see if I can get across this just like that. I'm going to put a screw here and here. That'll give me a corner to help hold this in nice and tight. Let's put the cut edge that way. There we go. Now, about like that right there. And now we're going to try a few screws. See if we can get this to hold. All right. Problem we have here, guys, is that wood is trying to move. All right, so we're gonna have a pretty big gap there because it's pushing up, but we're gonna fill that with mud all through here, hot mud first. So the next thing I'm going to do before I mix the mud and start throwing it on the wall is we are going to look for what I call a ringer. You're going to take your blade, your knife, and you're going to run it down. I do not hear anything ringing. That means that everything is below surface, which is the way it should be. I have one screw up here that is not. I'm going to go over it so that you can kind of hear. You can hear that ring. That is what I'm looking for, because when you go to put the mud on, it sucks to have to come back with a screw gun and try to sink it deeper, and you've already thrown mud on there. I'm going to go ahead and put on some of my mesh. I'm not going to use regular mud. For the most part, we are going to be using a hot mud. I will probably use either a 20-minute or a 40-minute setup time mud. The hot mud I'm going to use today has the 45 on it. Now, I do have some 20 with me if I need it. Right now, I don't. We're going to use the actual mixer, which is my DeWalt drill with an egg beater. Works great. And use my knife if I need to any fine mixing. Put a little water first so it doesn't stick in the bottom so much. And about like that right there, just a little bit. And we're going to mix some in. If you get some of this on the concrete, guys, just wash it off after. It's not real detrimental. It's drywall mud, even though this is a little stronger than typical mud, but it is not going to hurt anything. So I do that, put a little bit more water in, and you're going to mix this till it's kind of like a peanut butter. And I just simply will take it and start mixing. So we're going to put a little bit more here. Make sure we have enough to pretty much get through this first batch. And a little more water. All right, guys, so the very first thing I'm going to do is we're going to start pre-mudding. So you're going to take your mud with your knife, and we're just going to start forcing it into these holes. Now this little corner, the repair, is going to take quite a bit of mud just to kind of get it out level. So we're going to start kind of filling that in a little now. So these big gaps at the corner are going to take a little bit more mud. Now you can use some backer rod here too, guys, if it's really big, which will help fill in a lot of that. But then you're just going to keep on going and forcing that mud into those big gaps. So I will do that all the way down. And then the next thing I'm going to work on are the screw holes. All you're going to do is put it over and do that. If you've got a whole bunch like this, you can take some of the mud, cut off the corners just like that. And I can start here and I can work my way up and all the way down at one time. So when you're actually going over the seam, there's a couple of ways to do it. I can actually take the mud, since it's hot mud, it doesn't spread quite as easy. And I can just go down just like this and get it covered. You can also take, especially if you're using regular mud, it's a little bit watery, works a little better. Take your mud, cut off the edges, and you can bring it down like so and cover it that way. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take the knife, and I'm going to not have it out like this. I want it down so it doesn't take off too much mud. And I'm going to go down just like that, take off the excess. Now I'm going to tip to my right, meaning that I'm going to put more pressure on the right side as I go down. That feathers this edge. And then I'm going to do the left side. Same thing, pushing towards the left. And then I end up with that. And I work my way down. Now the first one's not going to be super pretty. It's just getting your base coat on and trying not to leave too much buildup that you're going to have to clean later. We're going to take a break, let it dry, come back, start again. We're going to go ahead and put some corners in, the inside corner here and where the wall meets the ceiling. We're going to do paper on this so I can show you the difference. Generally, I would probably do mesh with hot mud here as well, but I'm going to show you how it works. So I load up some of the mud, cut off the corners, and I will literally start here and work my way down, making sure that I've got plenty of mud in the seam. Now this part can be a little tedious, trying to load it up like this. I'm going to take the paper tape. Now the paper tape has a seam in it, and I will fold that seam and put it into the corner with the seam like that. Now some guys will actually do this with a knife, but they will do one side tonight, do the other side tomorrow, so they get a really pretty edge and a lot less sanding. But I know most DIYers are not going to do that. It takes way too long, and they're going to use the fastest method, which is what I'm going to try to show you today. So now that it is creased, I've got the special corner tool. We're going to have that setting here. got some fresh mud, knife, and we're going to start at the corner itself and just start embedding. So just like that, and get that corner up in there. Just like that. Now, you don't have to use the other tool at this point. If you don't want, you can start pushing up and feeding down and just take off the excess. Like that. And this is where a lot of times they would just do one side, but I like to do them both and get it over with. Now, you saw how I just pulled that out. It's because I wasn't holding this side. So you have to kind of hold that side down and start it. All right, guys, so we just simply keep embedding. Make sure we get that right into the corner. Now, you can go ahead if you want, put a little mud if you're trying to speed things up. Usually this is a whole separate day. You want to press fairly hard. You're going to have some buildup here. We're going to go back over that with the knife just to try to make sure you can see how much is coming off. Don't want to press everything out from under the tape, but you want to make sure that you're making good contact. And you can tilt to each side as you need to. And now I'm going to use the knife and go back and kind of cut any excess out. Gently pull, pushing further on the outsides. Trying to take off the excess. And your corners are going to work pretty much the same. It's a little easier to get it on and slide on the corners. Just make sure, like up above, that you're not leaving any voids. Start it up here, like so. Let it fall. Use my knife and get down to the very bottom and just simply cut it where I want it to end. Probably could use a ladder right here. All right, so now we have that pretty good, and it's pretty smooth on the sides. We shouldn't have to do as much as we did on that one. We're going to come back and put a little mud on the tape. So we take it to the very top, tilt down, and press. Now we still have a little on those edges because we're out, and this is a very rough texture. Get a little more, take that excess off. And on this first coat, you don't want a whole lot on there. You're still going to see the tape through it. That's normal. We're just trying to get a good seat. And we can still hit that with a sander and kind of clean it up a little before the next one, because each time it will fan out just a little more. There we go. But you can take the knife, tilt way back, and just kind of smooth out some of this. That actually looks much better. I see a lot of buildup in spots right here, so we want to try to straighten that out a little so it'll be easier come sanding time. Just like that. That's looking better. All right, one thing that'll help you is on your taping mud, go ahead and add a little bit of water. That might be just a tad more than I want, or a little back. I just want it a little runnier because it spreads a little bit easier. And I use my regular little blender. Now, if you're going to do a whole bunch, you can do the whole box and just put it in and blend it with a big blender all at once. But in my case, I just want to do a small amount. We're going to use a 10-inch knife on this, and that's pretty good. It's a 10-inch knife. Let me show you before we start. It's going to go out about this far. We're going to go 10. My next is a 12 and then a 14, and we should be plenty. We'll see on the next one what it looks like, whether we need to go to that 14. Actually, it's probably going to be easier to hold the pan like that, tip off the edges, and start applying. Like so. Now, I like to tip the edges off because that way it doesn't throw too much on the outsides. Because remember, we're going to want to feather this. Start at the bottom here, bring it up, tip, tip, and bring it on up. Tip, tip, bring it up. All right. The first thing we're going to do is go straight up and down. Actually, probably right there. And I'm going to way tilt it towards the wall, all the way down, taking off excess. I'm going to start at the bottom, go up, tilt it way down, just like that. And now we feather. I'm going to put my pressure on the right side, leaving it light here. So I'm going to push like this, keeping tilted down. By doing that, it's going to feather out this edge. Like that, pulls off a whole bunch. And then we're going to do that there. There we go. Now we're going to do it on this side. Tilting like that. Start at the bottom, tilt towards me. Just like that. Now I finish off with one last straight because you'll have a little buildup on each side. And you can see my finger hit right there. Just like that. And from flip it over, go to the bottom and go up. Just like that. Well, it's been 24 hours, guys. Everything is set up. The corner's still tight. I do not see any bubbling. Now, bubbling you may not see until you get ready to paint. So if you start painting and you get a bubble on the paper, be sure you take a razor knife, cut the bubble out, and go back over that little section with a little mud, let it dry, and then continue painting. That happens sometimes with paper, especially if you squeezed a little too hard and you pulled the mud out from the back side. That's why I try to be very careful and gentle how much I press. I just want it to be nice and tight. Now, we are going to use a pole sander today. I'm going to show you how that works. Now, you can use your power sander here, But I find with paper, these work a little better and you're a lot less likely to take too much out and end up into the paper. I pulled off a sanding grid of 120. I use this on rough sanding more. We are going to use a 220 because it's going to give you a lot smoother finish. We're going to hit everything with it and try to smooth everything out. I love the grids a lot better than sandpaper itself. It just lasts longer, works better for me. The screen grid tends to allow the dust to go through the other side of it and you can keep working. You can rinse these off just like sandpaper and continue using them. I love the pole, but we can sand here in the middle and you'll see where it starts to powder. Make sure you don't go more than that so you're not cutting in to your paper. Now when it comes to this, I'm going to work in solid movements, just like that. Trying to take off any high spots and make it nice and level. I want to show you a little bit more of a close-up of power sanding. One of the things I do with the power sander is I turn the speed way down. And what I'm going to focus on is this little buildup around the edges. Now I've cut those back quite a bit, but you want it extremely smooth. So I'm going to show you how I do that with the power sander because you want it to blend. Now we're going to go a little further out, but it's going to blend better if you have this smooth. So in the very end, before you paint, you definitely want the edges to look like what I'm about to show you. Keep your sander straight. Do not tilt it like this, or you'll cut. And then you work on these edges. See how it's feathery? Just like that. That looks good. You don't want to go too deep. They almost cut into the paper a little. Just like that. And then I go straight up and straight down, keeping this flat and level. So I did cut just a little here deeper than I want, but we're going to cover that with more mud. And that's only because I was trying to talk to you and explain. You want it to look like this and be smooth, and you want this flat. So we're going to do that on everything here, including where the screw holes are. Get it ready and put our next level on. All right. So we're going to start in this corner, and now I'm going to pull back the other direction. So make sure I'm getting wet out of the bucket. I'm going to take it, and remember, I don't want here. I want it close in, right in the corner, and we just pull. Just like that. Now see these? I want to go back over it. There you go. There's one right there. This is an old ceiling in a garage. It's kind of bowed there a little. In close, just tilt back just a little. And there you go. We're going to hit this tape line and this tape line. And we're going to go with a much wider knife. So if you look, this is the knife we're going to use. It's way further out. And what I do, I did pre-mix the mud again, make it a little watery. I like to take it, pull it out, and cut the ends off. I start up here, and I work my way down. Like that. And it's going to take quite a bit of mud, guys, to get this taken care of pretty decent. I don't want to pull it all off, but I want to pull off the bulk so that I don't have a whole bunch later. Be sure you cut those ends. And this is the buildup I'm talking about. If you do not cut it, it will end up building up at those edges. And get rid of that and that. Put it here in the middle. You can take your knife, clean it off, And you can even wet the knife. I like to wet the knife a little. It just seems to make it glide a little better on the mud. I want to take it up here and I'm going to not tilt out, but tilt in as close as I can to the wall and work it. And that's the excess I pulled off. I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. Start at the very bottom and work my way up. There we go. Now, I want to feather my edges. I'm going to go to my right side here and I'm going to push harder on the knife and leave it light in the middle. So we're going to go like that. And that's what we pulled off. We're going to do the same thing from the bottom, pushing to this edge. There we go. Now I'm going to go at the top and I'm going to push to the edge on my left. Like that. That's what I pulled off. And we're going to start at the bottom. Pulled off a bunch there. We still have a little in the middle here. There we go. Now what I do is I will wet it again. And I'm going to do the same thing I did in the very beginning. Start here, keep the knife tilted down, and one final pass. Just like that. And like that. And that's what I pull off. So now we leave that alone, let it dry. It is feathered on both edges and it is nice and flat. So tomorrow will be a quick sanding, making sure that our edges are feathered nicely so they do not show up through paint. And I'm going to show you how you texture with just a hopper and regular mud. So you don't have to buy that fancy Home Depot or big box store texturing mud. Okay, it's the next day. Everything is nice and dry. Now I can go ahead and show you how the knife technique works to make sure that you have this far enough out and that it looks good. All you're going to do is simply put the knife on it and look for light underneath. You'll do that on all of your seams and see if any of them need any extra mud. Today we're going to do a blow-on texture. We're going to use a compressor like this, hose, and hopper. We are going to go ahead and mix up a little bit of the mud. So you can pull the whole bag like this and dump it into your bucket. And generally I will work out of a bucket on most larger jobs. The only reason I leave it in here is if it's a small job. There's a lot of mud left in here. Squeeze it out of this bag and get every last bit. Now we're going to go ahead and pour some water in and start mixing. That looks pretty good. That's pretty decent right there. So that's what we're going to shoot for. And what you'll do is you'll start in an upper corner and you just gently slide down, knocking that down. It looks very nice. Start over here doing the same thing. Over here. I think I need a little more right here. There we go. That looks great. And over here. Overall looks good, seams look good. Hope you got a little something out of this one. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Hit that little bell notification so you know about all the upcoming videos as I release them. And we'll see you guys on the next one.